Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to Edelweiss 2026 Roadmap, What's Next for Booksellers, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2026 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, I think we're gonna get started. Is this volume okay? You can hear? Okay.
Hello.
I guess I gotta manage that. All right, before we start, we have some, whoa, that moved fast. Some kind of the standard ABA notes. So antitrust guidelines, booksellers are encouraged to share ideas and support during the conference, but the Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits them from discussing price or pricing policies, boycotts, dividing up the market. For more information, see ABA's full antitrust guidelines on BookWeb. Enter description here. Okay, I guess that was it, right? All right. When I last presented at one of these things was January, right before COVID, and I didn't need reading glasses at that time. So, but now I do. Hopefully, there's some of you that can appreciate that. Hi, everyone. I'm John Rubin. I'm the founder and CEO of Above the Tree Line, the company behind Edelweiss. And with me is Dave Lucy, who will introduce himself in just a moment. And we're here to talk about the 2026 roadmap for Edelweiss. We have some things to share with you, but this will also be, we'll have Q&A where you guys can ask any questions you want as well. It's been sort of an interesting year or two, and nothing is off bounds for anybody who has any questions about where we are, where we're going, etc. Before we start, just because these things are always tricky because so many people have different levels of familiarity with Edelweiss, with usage of Edelweiss, different, booksellers, publishers, just sort of a show of hands, if you will. First, booksellers that use the Square point of sale system, because that's kind of not everything, but relevant to Omnibus and where we're going. Great, thank you. And booksellers who use another point of sale system. Great. And then publishers in the audience. Okay, so a smaller smattering, but I think there's something here for everybody. So, okay. So, yeah, I know many of you been doing this since 2003. My mother, as some of you know my mom really well, was an independent bookseller in the Chicago area. She bought her store when I was 12. And I was the delivery boy. I think that's as far as I made it. And actually sold her store in 2013. So she was a bookseller for, I guess the numbers don't exactly match, but 32 years. So started Above the Tree Line Edelweiss in 2003, and then it's been sort of a journey since then. I also wanted to introduce Dave Lucy, who is a new hire at Edelweiss. Dave has been a partner for years and has, if any of you know him, probably in the Square community, he has, I'll let him talk about it, but led the Square Facebook group and really was some of the inspiration and a great partner before he came on in what we're doing with Omnibus. But I don't know whether you want to.
Sure. Just really quickly. So my wife and I own Page 158 Books in Wake Forest, North Carolina. We've been in business for a little over 10 years, almost 11. And we've been using Square since the beginning as our point of sale. And as you know, if you use Square, that it has very limited inventory management capabilities. And over the years, I've worked to develop some bookstore specific functionality in that platform. And in partnering with John and team have over the years gotten it to connect so that we could leverage things like analytics to manage our returns and things like that. And now this is like the next giant leap in that evolution to give stores that are using Square bookstore specific functionality that we've all been longing to have. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to be part of the team and continuing to, be engaged in the Square ecosystem, but can help with any. I think this could go beyond Square if you're using Lightspeed or any of the non-bookstore specific things. There's something to see here for sure.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
And chime in whenever. And again, I just want to reiterate the omnibus concept, and I'll show you some of it. Truly is the and we've gone into the derivation of the word, and and sort of you'll hear the "get on the bus" slogan. So we've sort of taken it down to the lowest level, I guess, that it can go as well. But the idea is it's sort of an all-encompassing system, and so if you are using one of the other point of sale systems or anything, you will find things in here, because part of Omnibus is just you may have heard that software is changing fast in the world that we live in. And we have embraced that. And that gives us the opportunity, we feel like, to really build better tools for you all much faster than we were able to before. So long way of saying that there are, even if you don't go that route, there are things that you'll see here, I think, about where we're going strategically in terms of things to enhance the rep-buyer relationship and improved review copy browsing. All of those kinds of things are also just kind of general Edelweiss under that omnibus umbrella.
Or how about never ordering the hardcover on accident again? When the paperback's out.
My biggest regret this morning is I was hoping to show that this morning, and we didn't quite get it in there. But
it'll be there.
That is coming soon.
It's happening.
The sort of right. This hardcover is coming to paperback soon, so don't reorder it. It's sort of the holy grail that's been out there for a long time. So we're going to talk about what's next, Omnibus, how it works, next steps, and then as much as we can, we'll get into a live demo and QA. So I do think if you have questions, really at any point, and unless it slows it up too much, raise your hand, and Caitlin will bring the microphone over to you. Cool. So I don't know if anybody remembers this. Hopefully not, because it means you've been in the industry way too long. But that was our brochure from 2003. And a lot has changed since 2003. And these are some of the things through the years. If you remember, we started with analytics. That's all Edelweiss. Well, it wasn't Edelweiss. It was just Above the Tree Line, which is the company behind Edelweiss. We started with analytics, and the original concept was coming in and looking at my mom's store with her 100,000 ISBNs and the difficulty in making sense of that. And at that point, it was Borders and Barnes and Noble that were able to see across their stores and see what's selling and what they're missing and that kind of thing. So those were the two original concepts behind analytics. Edelweiss 1.0 came around in 2008. Again, if any of you remember, it started with a pilot of 10 of the big publishers. The original idea actually came from Arson at Boulder Bookstore. He wrote a little blog post about how great it would be as publishers were starting to put their PDFs online with a fancy page turner, how great it would be to actually leverage the emerging internet at that time for some of the tools and efficiencies that it could provide. 2013, digital review copies. If those of you remember 2016, we rolled out Edelweiss 2.0. And if you were there, thank you, because I know it was a little rocky, the rollout of that. And in a way, Omnibus is sort of Edelweiss 3.0. But I guess the main point is throughout it all, that was our original slogan, was you're an independent but not alone. And then it became sort of work better, read more. But it's always been about the indies for Above the Tree Line and Edelweiss. Even as Edelweiss does serve a broader market of libraries and bloggers and who we kind of call professional readers. So core mission hasn't changed. I put it there in orange so I wouldn't forget. I guess I gotta go here. Ooh. A little PSA. This is our dashboard at Edelweiss, where we see a running list of what we call NPS, which is that annoying little pop-up that shows up occasionally that says, would you recommend Edelweiss to a friend or colleague? And I know there are some of you that sort of say, well, of course I would, because it's what we use, but we really want to have it as input into how we're doing or how you're feeling. Because we felt like that wasn't quite enough a couple of years ago, we added the little frowny smiley. But if you're wondering, we are looking at that all the time. So we get that real time. So if you have any issues, you can contact support, but you can also send that message either through the smiley or the frowny, and we will get it. Okay. I gotta put my glasses back on. All right. So Omnibus is two things. One is it's modernizing the Edelweiss experience, as I mentioned. So we are committed to addressing the Edelweiss pain points. We have a new list view that some of you are using and some of you aren't. We originally said that will go live for everybody in January. We quickly realized that that was not the right thing to do, so we rolled that back. We do have a lot of people using it. We still have issues with it that people are finding. As you know from looking at that Edelweiss page, there's a lot going on in Edelweiss. It's something that whenever we've gone to redesign it, we've had people come in and say, "Oh, simplify that and make it much more sort of standard UI." But we've also heard from booksellers and reps, especially, that the things that they like and the things that are open to change. So that is out there. You'll see that some of the things that I'll show today, the new catalog browsing page, will be things that will be embedded into the system that you use. So over the next year, you can expect to see more of those kinds of things where you can sort of toggle and see this view versus that view. We do think that list view where buyers buy every day is the most crucial. And I won't say contentious, but at times contentious. So I guess I did say contentious. So you'll start to see more Omnibus pages integrated in 2026. But the other part of Omnibus is to, as I mentioned and Dave mentioned, provide some scaffolding around Square. So we started to see this, I think when we were working on Indy 360 back in 2019 and 2020 was where we really saw a lot of stores trying to make a go of using Square. And it is a very modern point of sale system. It's not, you don't have to hook a line up to your office and have everything hardwired. You can walk around the store and transact. There are lots of benefits, and yet it's really difficult too. So Square was designed, and Dave, you can talk to this too. Square was designed for different kind of retail than books. Wasn't
very generically retail. That's what it is, and it's all the bookstore specific functionality was never intended to be a part of Square. But over the years, we've had them make some improvements that they saw was applicable to broader retail, but that I knew that was pretty much as far as it was going to go. And so the gaps were pretty huge and often required tech savviness and manual intervention on the part of whoever was using it. And the Omnibus is taking all that away. So it's a great thing.
So, and there really are two sides to that, which we'll talk about. One is the ability to order easily, and not just from Fair, but from publishers, and have that be an automated process where you don't need to go to each publisher's site to order. Something called EDI has been around for a long time, so it's being able to leverage that on the back end. And then on the usability side of it, it's integrating all of the metadata. Square has 4 metadata fields, which, if you think about it, is a lot fewer than you need to look at books. So format and pub date and title and author and all of the different carton quantity. So it's really limited in that way. And then just the complexity of handling the number of ISBNs. It's book selling is unique in that way, which is great. But key thing is Omnibus works alongside Square. So again, it's not replacing that. And I guess the bigger vision is that bookstores have to use a lot of different systems right now, and we're trying to simplify that a little bit to bring more of that, what you do, into one system. So a little bit of context in terms of how this works. It actually is, Omnibus is leveraging, I would really say, exactly how Square was designed to be used. They have their interface, but they also have a very robust system of APIs and webhooks, which are essentially communication protocols for other systems. So what we're doing, what you do if you sign up for Omnibus, is put in your Square credentials, and then we have immediately a mirror of what's happening in Square. So sales as they happen, inventory levels, customer data. For us, I think when we first turned it on with Dave, or for me, it was kind of this revelatory moment of, we've always, for those of you who've been on analytics for a long time, we always are the day before, or if there's a problem with our upload, a couple days before. And so just the ability for us with our analytics tools and other things that we do to have that real-time data and the sort of additional insights we can give to that is really exciting. So
yeah, like a real example of that, we recently had this PTA come in and give a couple of teachers like $600 to go shopping. And it was really, really cool for us, but they wiped out our kids department by, like going through it. And our buyer, the next morning when she got in, was able to pull this up in Omnibus, a replenishment report, which you're going to show that, right? Mm-hmm. So the replenishment report, and see everything that had been purchased the day before. Whereas in the past, that would have been kind of a slog trying to get the good data out of Square to really be able to, filter it the way we wanted it to get it to be able to be usable. And then it would have been a lot of copying and pasting. And as it was, it was like one click of a button, get the data, click, 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 add it to orders. And it was done. And she was like, this is life-changing. It's like her reaction was exactly what I was hoping it was going to be, but it was really impactful to be able to get it. And even prior, when we were just on the analytics platform, like you said, the data transfer was a day later. Everything had to process. Nothing was real time. So we could have done it while they were in the store and had that data, which is just incredible. It's really leveraging the technology for what it's there for, to make our operations run more smoothly, which is all we could ask for.
So practically, and we'll show this. I always like showing things better than talking about them, although sometimes I can go too in depth when I'm showing it. So it's a balance, I guess. So what we're really looking for is a modern bookstore platform that, again, combines the book selling tools with Square. So that's item management. Again, I mentioned the 4 bibliographic fields. There's the way to bring this in from Edelweiss, leveraging all of the Edelweiss metadata into Square for a Square website or just within the system, and just being able to manage your shelves and your items in Omnibus and in Square. The POS workflows, and Dave mentioned this, some of those we sort of have in Edelweiss, but like replenishment, we don't really have, because we don't have that real-time data, and we don't have all the data around costs and vendors and those types of things. And then the ability to order from the right place. So sort of an advanced to be ordered optimization that, based on your discounts from publishers and your delivery times, suggests to you, you don't have to order everything from Ingram. You can order from the publishers directly as well. And that's linked to sort of the direct ordering functionality, which we are actively working on. Oh, we have a question. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but as someone who is not using Square, I know that this is you're setting us up probably to do some amazing things, but I'm hoping that as you talk more about what you're doing, you can relate it back to those of us who are not using Square as well, because it looks like this could be amazing for us, but it also is a ways off for us. But help us understand why you chose Square first and what that benefit is to the rest of us.
Yeah. I think that's completely fair. And I will show that. And I think I'll go back to just sort of first, a lot of these tools that we're building that I'll show you, we're embedding back into Edelweiss, so you'll see them. And eventually, the Omnibus platform that we're showing you will be Edelweiss, but we're just doing that slowly, where you will have the option to just not have those Square tools. We did want to talk about this because we feel like this is also, we sort of look at our job is to build the best tools for booksellers that we can. And so I think, we had this discussion for this session of the future. We do feel like this is the future of Edelweiss because that disconnect and the pain points around the multiple systems and some of the older technology is something that it's time to address. So questions? Yeah.
We have systems that do all of this. So I understand who uses Square in here. Were there a couple of hands? I don't think this is relevant to anyone else in the room. So I just want to ask my one question and then I'm going to go. Why are you charging independent publishers so much? You're making it impossible for them to use you, which makes it impossible for us to use you. This analytics won't work if you're not allowing independent publishers to be on your platform.
Yep, I had a feeling we'd get that question. I appreciate that. I think that we didn't really have a chance and sort of in that public sphere, couldn't really address it. If, let's say, that $90 per title that PW quoted, which actually smaller publishers get a discount for that, I would question whether that's really overcharging a publisher. So to me, that's the price of an author dinner for access to, we have 40,000 independent bookstores on users on Edelweiss. We have 50,000 libraries. And we also sort of look at our role a little bit as, one, we need to be able to build the tools and support the tools to support the booksellers. And two, we had some publishers that were out of whack because we hadn't gone back and done that and sort of reconciled our pricing. But we feel like, and we've heard from a lot of publishers as well, that it's a fair value for what they get. So it allows us to do what we need to do is the short answer, I guess. And the last thing I say is we actually haven't seen, and I know that's in the press, but we haven't seen major attrition on Edelweiss. Another question?
I guess my question was sort of along those lines. So if publishers do stop putting all of their titles on your platform because of the cost, how does that affect being able to see that metadata in your Omnibus platform?
Yeah. It eventually would. We haven't seen that as a major factor yet. So, and if it did, then we would have to adjust from there. But as I say, we actually haven't seen that happen yet.
And could I ask a second question? So I guess going back to lots of other people have bookstore specific point of sale systems. Mm-hmm. Is it fair to say that if you're not using Square, that the other features like being able to order direct using EDI, that sort of inventory management and ordering, you'd still be able to leverage those things without using Square?
Well, I guess I would say that my sense is that your current point of sale system at this point probably does that okay.
Well, yeah, but just for other people who are trying to connect the dots here.
Right.
If you're not using Square as your point of sale, but you have some other point of sale that doesn't let you do EDI today, is that a thing that you could start doing in Edelweiss if you wanted to, or in Omnibus?
That's interesting.
If you didn't want to connect the real time, but still wanted to put orders together to do EDI, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think we'll sort of share with you the time frame on how long we've been doing this. I think that's a possibility if that arises. We've been focusing right now on sort of the full scenario, but I don't actually see conceptually why we couldn't do that. Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. So now we get to very small screen in a big room, which will probably be the case for the demo. But I just wanted to point out a few things here. So this is the Omnibus page, and what you would see here, if you could see it in the back, is there are kind of Square specific widgets in here, and there are Edelweiss, like a new catalog browsing functionality and the ability to see your reps and communicate with your reps more clearly. But it's a modern interface based on the same kind of concepts as Edelweiss, where you can set up your own dashboard, where you can see very clearly how many titles are at their alert threshold for replenishment, what the state of your special orders are through the sort of pipeline. So events, staffing, we're really trying to build this, again, the best of Edelweiss point of sale systems and other systems like When I Work, to all build into one system as much as possible that you and your staff can use. There's also an email digest, so you can set it up to be able to just sort of get those alerts on a daily basis. Again, just some kind of modern tools. Where are we? So we started this fairly recently. Again, it's been out there as something that we have considered, and I'll go back to I think according to the ABA stats, there are 700 independent bookstores in the country that are just using Square. We do look at this as if something in the long run that others find valuable. That's great too, and we'll continue to evolve that. But again, to that woman's point, that is where we started, because we do feel like there's a need. When we went out, that was affirmed. So very quickly, we got 40 stores in the beta test. We had another 75 stores that reached out to us to participate, where we kind of said, we need to wait on that while we do these things, while we refine the real-time Square integration. So again, that's setting up that system so that we make sure that when there's a sale in Square, it gets into Omnibus. And when you change the quantity in Omnibus, that goes back into Square, and all those types of things, including updating metadata. And then just working through some of these, what we'd call kind of the key workflows around replenishment, special orders, order optimizations, events, those types of things. We were hoping to go a little faster, but we're there now in terms of the ordering integration. I mentioned EDI, but if those of you who know, that's a technology that's been around for, 30, 40 years. There are better ways, but we're starting with EDI. And so we're testing with PRH right now. And we're talking with all the other partners and are anticipating that in the next couple months, we have that fully integrated into Omnibus. It's not right now. Right now, you can create orders in Omnibus and share them with your rep in Edelweiss. You can take your, so there's sort of play right now between Edelweiss orders and Omnibus orders. But it's not automated. So in March, as I'll talk about, we are looking to go out of beta and work on direct ordering for the next few months. Pricing. So again, the model of these services being built into Edelweiss is the traditional model, but the Square integration model that allows you to have sort of one system, we want to make this affordable. $49 per store per month for the base version of being able to order and use all the replenishment tools, that kind of thing. We do have a special Winter Institute founding retailer offer, half off for the first 90 days. And some of that is in acknowledgement that we don't have that EDI fully running, but we're moving fast on it.
I think from a pricing perspective, one of the things too that, the barrier of entry for a new store starting up, a lot of us use Square from the beginning because of the cost of the bookstore specific platforms. Also, I didn't want to have servers in my store and have to maintain that. And I didn't want to have a computer be every register, right? So when we chose Square, it was 10 years ago and there was no inventory management. Basically, it was just scan a book, get a price, which is great, take a payment. And it's evolved a lot over the years, but I've tried all of the other, or most of the other bookstore specific pieces of software, and the learning curve was just too steep. So I think if you're already there, you have something to consider, but and I don't know what you're paying for every one of those, but to have a modern point of sale that I always like to say, I could have my mom come up and ring somebody up if I needed to, if we were busy. And it's happened where we had, Christmas season, you got extra people helping out, and I don't need to train them for hours on how to run the register. It's, scan this and go. And having that front end be really, really simple and easy to use with all the modern, Square invests in that platform, and they do a great job of investing in that platform and making it better and better. But having the bookstore specific functionality that Omnibus is going to be able to offer for $49, and even with the free version of Square, that's pretty powerful. So it's something to consider, even if you do have a bookstore specific piece of software.
Question? Yeah, here first.
All right.
Hey, Bob.
Hi. In terms of inventory management, one of the things that's the biggest time suck in our store is, and what we're doing now, is processing returns. What work do you plan on doing, and how close are we to having something that I don't have to sit through and check each ISBN? It's a question that I asked through the portal, but I don't think I've heard an answer.
So, it's a great question. Returns are a big part. And we have a returns module. We're just scratching the surface, as you've noted, of kind of identifying items to return. And based on, I think one of the initial constraints that we had was getting the last received date in from Square. So as we get EDI ordering in, we're able to actually track that. And it's a big part of the roadmap, obviously, to add that in. I think the other, it does sort of point out what we think is a really nice opportunity to link this in with a system that the publishers also use, which is what we would like to do is automate those processes around returns, around damage receiving, all of that stuff that sort of happens still in the bookselling world, kind of Wild West. Each publisher has a different email or phone number to call. Returns is one of those. Again, damages are one of those. And we think that there are others that will continue to sort of surface as we have more of this in there. And again, that's some of the work that we're looking to build just into Edelweiss in general through Omnibus, because some of that is related specifically to the sort of POS-y kind of functions, and some of that are more Edelweiss things. Is that helpful? Okay. I think there was somebody here.
Too. But definitely keep submitting that feedback too, though, because
yes.
Like what you think that should look like too is really interesting. Hearing different voices is really helpful.
I guess my question is, I'm comparing you a little bit right now to QuickBooks. They basically had a desktop platform, and then they forced everyone to online, by increasing their fees to $1,800 for desktop. So most people had to migrate and make that choice. And it seems like that might be what's going to be happening with Edelweiss. And it looks like your resources are going towards Square. So for those of us that don't use Square, we use Book Manager, Booklog, Anthology.
Right.
It seems like those resources are going to developing for Square. How are you going to maintain both platforms, really?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And I mentioned this, and it could just be, it's actually the reality of it. So we are developing in a new platform now than what Edelweiss was developed in 2008. So it's just different technology. And that's actually if you're familiar with what we call the new list view, which is the option to look at the new view, that is in that technology. all of this is in that technology too. We do not ever see not offering the Edelweiss service the way that it is. What we are doing, and I can show you the new catalog browsing, where you go in and look at catalogs and put this on my, we'll call this, starred list or whatever it might be, my work list. We will be embedding those pages into the current version of Edelweiss. So we are very much not, that is our bread and butter. We know that. And so we talked about this in this presentation. We're trying to sort of share what our vision is and where we think the industry is going, which does not mean that we're not supporting the core Edelweiss. That's protecting the core is sort of our mantra as an organization. So, but thank you for the question.
Okay, so I'm using both Anthology and Square. Currently, I use Square primarily for remote events.
Yep.
And then, have to put all of that information into Anthology as my main POS. I do have staff that are lobbying for a more 21st century feel to a POS, which is what looks like what the Omnibus is going for. Do you have plans for people who are on one of the older, more traditional Anthology Book Manager, book-centered POSs to migrate all of that data into Omnibus?
Yes, if a store wanted to do that, we would be able to migrate the data in.
I think my question is sort of similar. I'm a new bookstore owner, and I've relied on Edelweiss. Has been I bought a bookstore that was 40 years old. I'm not from the book industry, so I've relied on Edelweiss to help me, not completely, to make my decisions.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the data. I also, last Winter Institute, seeing all the different POSs, we currently use Anthology, we use Square in our cafe and for events. But Book Manager was the one, that everyone I talked to said. So I've put a deposit. I have a $2,000 non-refundable deposit to transition to Book Manager. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is my dream, a modern interface that looks like it was made for this time with Edelweiss. I'm curious what it would even look like for if you're not using Square, with we don't have inventory in Square. What does that look like, and what does a migration process look like for a store that already exists with a lot of data?
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I think that's the decision. Obviously, it's a little more. We will continue to support and work with all the point of sale systems. We look at this as an option, and we felt like there are enough stores that we heard from through the years that felt the way you did. That was what prompted our decision to build this, because we feel like, really, for 20 years, the ABA or Booksellers have said, hey, could you guys build a point of sale system? And so just to sort of put that out there, but we want everybody to always have a choice. That is, so that's important to this. There are a few tables that you update with your historical data into Omnibus, and then Omnibus feeds Square and populates the Square system with all of the item data. It's a very simple process. So we haven't done one of those yet because we're aware. We're starting with the lower, just to be totally candid, for stores that are using Square. This is all bonus. This is you're getting that, and there is more of a risk and a we want to make sure, and you want to make sure that it is robust enough before doing that if you're using something else. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. My follow-up was just, what is the support?
Sorry.
That's okay. What is, your support like for stores that are
Going through the migration.
going to be,
Using the platform.
Yeah, because it's brand new, and that's a very low cost. $49 a month is not very much money.
No.
So what kind of support would a store receive for that subscription?
Sorry, Jen pointed out that my Teams notifications are showing up, which not everybody needs to see. So, hopefully that did it. We're going to gauge that as we go. I mean, I think we're proud of the support that we do have. It's starting with the Edelweiss support team of Nikki and Michaela.
The mic.
Turned it off.
Sorry.
So what I was saying was we're going to gauge that as we go. We're having those discussions right now of, as Omnibus grows, what's the impact on 24/7 support. We feel like our team right now is pretty good at responding to support and feedback, and that's always been key to who we are. Thank you, I appreciate that. So we're monitoring what that will look like. But
Nikki got snowed in Boston, so unfortunately she couldn't be here, but she sends her regards.
Hi. We're a pretty new bookstore, and I'm still just recently become one of the people that does our ordering, and I'm still trying to understand everything. Yep. We use Basil, and then we also check out with Square. But my question is there a place or a person or some sort of like infographics or lists that sort of do a comparison of these different, I'm trying to see what this looks like and imagine like how it would benefit, and it would be so helpful to see like a side-by-side comparison of some of these things and what it would bring for us. I mean, I made a lot of lists, but yeah.
I'm going to put that out there. Has anybody seen anything like that? I don't know whether we don't have that. We've always worked just with everybody. I don't know whether the ABA has something like that or not, but have you seen it, Dave?
I haven't. Well, it's a good idea though. Having some sort of functionality comparison kind of thing. Yeah.
So I am a Square user for the past 5 years, and I appreciate this because I've never been able to use my inventory has no metadata because it's too much of a pain in the butt to manually fill in. And so this is like a huge game changer, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple up here. And
Hey, I'm a big fan of Edelweiss. I think the data analysis, the emphasis in your roadmap on integrations, which are woefully inadequate in this industry, and the support are all huge. I'm hearing a lot of talk about Square as a POS, but Square can also be an e-commerce platform, and some of us aren't happy with our current e-commerce platform, and I'm curious about the implications of Omnibus for integrating direct ordering from Ingram as some other e-commerce platforms enable that we may not prefer to use for much longer. And I'm just curious about if you've thought about this in that way as opposed to just the POS aspect.
Yes. Yeah. Great question. I think 2 points that actually was just, linked to what somebody had just mentioned before. This is the Omnibus title detail screen. So you can see it builds in a bunch of the Edelweiss kind of data, both in terms of metadata and in terms of even some of the analytics data here. But this Square, you can make sure that you sync all your metadata very easily back to Square. It should happen automatically. This is our test store, so it doesn't. You can also, and I'll get to your question because this is just writing to that, the major use case for this is the Square website, where you can actually set up your preferences to, say, populate the name description field in Square with all of this different metadata, and stores have different ways that they want that to work. So one, trying to make it easier for stores that do use the Square website to have that be updated with metadata so you don't have to manually do that. The second answer is a little bit less concrete, which is that we're having discussions with different e-commerce platforms about how we integrate more. We hear that as well. We know that the reason to go to some of the newer POS systems is largely because there's a good e-commerce solution. We do feel like it makes a lot of sense to go in here. We would love, and this is the interest of some of the publishers as well, to be able to do direct to home from the publishers rather than Ingram. And that's something that a number of the publishers have expressed interest in, and that we would be able to link in through the direct ordering. So a little less concrete, but we've heard that and are going that direction.
Hi, our store has been using, or is closer? Thank you. Our store has been using Edelweiss for like forever, I feel like. So I've got a few clarifying questions on your presentation. The first one is, you mentioned that your first part of your rollout that includes like this January to February period, was to work out the pain points with Edelweiss right now. With the new updated view that you have, my team has shown a lot of challenges in getting onto the new platform because they're having a harder time browsing it.
Yep.
Does that include the pain points you're talking about?
It definitely does.
Okay.
So that new list view was actually developed. I mentioned that's in our new technology. It was in one step behind. And so we actually very much getting that new list view refined. To the person who asked that, we have a good portion of our team that is just working on that right now. And then other instances of that. And so I just wanted to go here where this is one of those where you can actually see who in the publishers has you as their contacts in Edelweiss. So this is a screen that we're building in Omnibus with the ability to schedule appointments, with the ability for the reps to send a schedule, just to have that all in one place. And that's something that we're building in Omnibus and is going to also be in the current version of Edelweiss. So another example of that kind of thing, just very practically. So, you can come here and you can see who at the publisher has you in their contact lists, and then be able to schedule that. You just see here the wonderful Darcy, who used to be at Treeline and now is NetGalley, is one of the contacts in there. Hey, Darcy.
And my last clarifying question. So the subscription to Omnibus, is that in addition to the Edelweiss? Is that a separate thing altogether, or is that going to be automatic?
So Edelweiss is free.
Okay.
But it is in addition, if you have an analytics subscription, it's in addition to that. So, but Edelweiss is free for booksellers to use and will be.
You mentioned that some people's choice of POS has to do with the e-commerce platform. Our choice of POS has to do with the fact that we sell used books.
Mm-hmm.
And how we would love to have Edelweiss analytics for used books. Is that on your radar?
Edelweiss analytics for used books. I got to think about that one, how we would do it. But sure. I mean, we do have, again, I don't know the size here, but the variant concept that is in Square is in Omnibus. So you can create multiple versions of the same ISBN, the used version with different price and different, we call them shelving codes or category codes. Yeah. So, but I got to think about the analytics question a little bit.
There's one up here too, when you get a second. He's had his hand up for like 10 minutes.
So, sorry. Is there, I work at a legacy bookstore. We've been around for a really long time. So we have Booklog and we have Edelweiss. I would say majority of everybody uses Edelweiss and a minority of bookstores uses Square as a POS. So it seems like a move towards trying to get a majority towards a certain POS provider. But we do
I would say it's just to give the option.
Okay. We do use Square, and I'm sure a lot of us use Square as a sort of like a side
Yes.
a
Remote
solution to
events.
many different problems that we
Right.
might have. Used books, offsite sales. I really, it would be way out in the future where for me to kind of contemplate a Square and Edelweiss integration for our store. But would there be an Omnibus Lite? Or maybe this is a suggestion that there could be some sort of light version that would help us move that stuff in for our various offsite events instead of what it is now, where we have to go all through Square itself. Because I think that could be an elegant thing to help people who don't want to maybe bring Square as their principal point of sale.
Yeah. No, what I hear you saying is, I think we very much do have the Square, all into Square and not into Square at all in mind. We haven't sort of played yet with the partial Square,
hybrid,
or the hybrid. So I do think on that other end, it is bringing some of this for stores that don't use Square still into Edelweiss, like I've said, but we haven't sort of envisioned that partial yet. It's an interesting idea.
I would actually love to talk to you about why you wouldn't even consider it. And we don't have to do it now, but I would love to talk to you. I'd just love to hear what's, because I kind of feel like in my mind, I was always kind of thinking like this omnibus solution could be a bring your own point of sale. Like you're saying, like you could keep Booklog to do your Booklog thing, but like if you wanted to keep Anthology because you loved the front end of Anthology and thought that was great and it functioned for you, then why couldn't you use it? That's kind of what I was thinking too. So I haven't told him that
one
yet.
more question, and then I do just want to show a couple of just sort of key parts of this, I think, too, before we leave. So
good. Yeah.
Thank you. I do events for my store, so I had kind of a twofold question. For our offsite events, we use Clover, and I was wondering if there's any plan for Omnibus to be able to integrate other Square-like platforms as well. And then second question was, you had mentioned some integration tools for scheduling and stuff like that for events, and I was wondering if you could chat a little bit more about what you guys are looking on the event side of things.
Yeah. In terms of other systems, we've envisioned that we're definitely open to that. I think we are trying to make it so that we're limiting, what Square or Shopify or Clover do for the bookstore. So make that transactional part of it a little more transactional, if you know what I mean, where, some of those systems do more for booksellers than others. That's not really that relevant for Omnibus because those are the functions that Omnibus is going to do. So yes, and we just want to be smart about that. In terms of your second question, there is a staffing module. There is an events area that's tied to Indy360 events. And if you use the email marketing platform, again, another area that we see opportunity is to link what you're putting in as your event with the event grids and the publisher, that whole process of requesting events. Again, it's been a disconnected industry, and part of this decision and why we feel like this is valuable, despite some of the tension around it, is that there are just a lot more opportunities to be more efficient, and there's not enough investment in this space.
I have a lot of thoughts about events too, about partners. How we manage our events and how it could tie to the bigger system. And like John said, we're at this phase where none of this stuff exists. So what do you think? This is the opportunity. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about what we could build into a system that makes, that event process better. Because I think we all have pain around, scheduling and all those things. I mean, and reporting back to publishers how the event went and all those things. Like if it was all tied, imagine.
We have 4 more minutes. Thank you, Dave. I just want to show a couple things that sort of illustrate both where we're going and what Dave is mentioning, which is this is our first pass at this, and we've had this out there since October. We'll be adding EDI, but just some examples of where you can put in your vendors, and you can see who at the publisher or the vendor has you as a contact. But then you can also come in and you can put in your discount, you can put in your delivery days, and all of this actually feeds in the to be ordered module, what we're calling an optimized vendor assignment, that will take your to be ordered list, and based on those variables and based on your preferences that you can adjust on how important discount is to you, how important speed of delivery is to you. You can break it out for special orders versus regular orders. And it will actually break it into what it thinks is the best source for that. So you leverage better discounts where it makes sense to get better discounts. Those kinds of things, which again, Square doesn't have any of that. Some of the other POS systems, great. If they have it, wonderful. Then that's great. Some of them don't have that. And so you can use that to evaluate what you want to do. We have 2 more minutes. So I guess we have time for one more question.
For people who are paying for analytics, and I guess for the free platform too, is there anything that's no longer going to be available through those, or that is changing because of it?
No.
So 360 is still a part of it?
No, I mean, just adding, I mentioned the catalog browsing. We are working on a more modern catalog browsing that will be nicer. You'll see bigger covers. This is what's going to be embedded into the core Edelweiss system, where you'll be able to toggle and look at that. But no, nothing's going away.
And I forgot my other questions.
I guess we have, I see 10:29, so if we have one more minute, we can.
I'll try to be quick. I used to work for Fallout, and we had this whole system that they had created that, seeing this, I'm excited that I can finally use something that I used a decade ago. But in terms of generating orders, once the order is created, are we able to, because I've been playing around with that, but I haven't figured it out yet, receive against the orders that we've created?
Yes. So you can right now. We can show you that. You can go into receiving and you can take an omnibus order. And we can talk about this, obviously. So maybe there's something I'm missing, but you can receive against an omnibus order in here, and it will pop up here with that order where you can, report damages. You can split it if you want to, all that kind of good stuff. When we get the EDI going this glorious day, and you can see here, I think there are a bunch of tests here on EDI. It will work a little bit differently, where you'll actually be able to track it through the system and see when you submitted it, when it was acknowledged, when it was shipped with an ASN. So what we want to get to is a world where you're receiving against that advanced shipment notification that might have multiple orders attached to it rather than that order. Does that help? I just got the end signal. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. There is, ABA really values your feedback. There is session evaluation in the app. So if you click on this session in the app, you can evaluate the session. Thank you all so much.
And I have cards up here if anybody wants to grab one, and please email me any feedback, thoughts, questions.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!